Greetings and salutations, this is Jason Silverain. Today I just want to go over the status of my health and the future of the channel. Now first of all I want to say it's good news, so don't worry, the channel's not going to suddenly vanish. There's not going to be a sudden stopping of updates, because after my latest bone marrow test I have been declared free of cancer. Now I say free of cancer and not cured there, because with leukemia you can't actually cure the cancer. Unfortunately, all you can do is suppress it. But in quite a lot of cases you can suppress it indefinitely, and fingers crossed for this time it'll take. If you didn't see the previous video, I suffered from leukemia in 2004, and it's been considered somewhat of a medical anomaly that it's come back after a decade. So it was kind of weird that it had come back in the first place, and thankfully I caught it so early it wasn't really able to do much damage to my body, so it's been relatively easy to resuppress. There are certain concerns, however, because with chemotherapy and various other medications I've had to take, there's always a chance that other cancers can develop. This is unfortunately the risk you've got to take when you undergo cancer treatment. It doesn't do good things to your body, and it can just make things worse. It may sound a bit strange saying that, but it's a pretty intensive treatment. One side effect of all this, however, I've had to undergo stem cell treatment. Now, I didn't have much choice in the regard. At this stage of my cancer, it was well, prudent to do, because it's pretty much my only time I could have done it. Because if the cancer came back again after its initial suppression, I would not be healthy enough to undergo stem cell treatment. It would be very unlikely that the chemo would work, and I wouldn't be able to be cured of the cancer. On the flip side, however, with stem cell treatment there's always a risk of death. In my case, thankfully, the risk was very small, only 8%. So when you have a guaranteed chance of being killed and an 8% chance of being killed, you've got to go with the 8%, really. It's not really a choice, you've just got to roll that dice and pray you don't natural one. But fingers crossed, it's all going to go well. If you're unfamiliar with stem cell treatment, in layman's terms, it's essentially suppressing the body's things like bone marrow, the parts that handle the production of cells like your immune system, your red blood cells and your platelets, and grafting a new a new donor's cells into your body. It's not as complicated as it sounds, as it's quite painful to get the donated blood cells, so thank you, mystery donor, because God, I could not go through a bone marrow to get those cells. I've just going through the bone marrow test was insanely painful. What it must have taken to get someone to actually get enough bone marrow cells to donate for stem cell treatment, I don't know. It must be made of steel to go through that. But it's like almost having a blood bag hooked up to you. The actual treatment itself was relatively easy, but the effects on my body, not so much. I've been remarkably lucky, however. Stem cell treatments matchups are usually difficult to get, especially for myself, since I was AB negative blood type, and that's 1% of the world's population. So the fact I managed to find me a donor so quickly, almost within a month of me consenting to the treatment, was absolutely amazing. It just goes to show the just how brilliant the NHS can be at times, especially if you go to the right hospital. Hats off to Sheffield Hallamshire for all their help, and the fact they've got this remarkable donor system that's connected to various other hospitals throughout the country, and I believe in the EU. So I'm still amazed by just how smoothly it's gone, but this does put me at the risk of host graft disease. For the next 2 years I'm going to have to be closely monitored with bi-weekly appointments and blood tests, just to make sure that first of all my chimerism with my donor cells remains high, essentially how well the new cells have grafted into my body. At the moment it's at 98%. I would like it at 100, but that next to never happens. So 98% is considered damn remarkable. And the fact it's stayed at 98% and hasn't dropped, so I've not had to have a top up or anything. So it's going remarkably well. But there's always an issue that either my old cells, my old immune system, what's still lurking in bits of my body, will begin attacking the new cells, or with this chimerism being so high, it's more likely I will have issues with the new donor cells not recognizing my body as, well, their new home, basically. They're still cells from someone else's body, and then what they can do is my own immune system will start attacking my internal organs. This is why there's an 8% chance of death. But there hasn't even been any symptoms. There's been no rashes. I've not had any issues with my gut. Because the main places it can attack is your intestines, your stomach, your liver, your lungs. God forbid if it attacks your lungs. But no, I might be in the 30% of people who don't suffer from this, which again will be remarkable. But again, it's due to my youth. Essentially, if I was having this in my 70s, I'd probably having all sorts of problems. So within the next month, I should be essentially going back to normal, apart from a couple of hospital appointments here and there every couple of weeks. I should get some semblance of normal life again, which will be very nice. But what does that mean for the channel? Well, fingers crossed, it means I can start making videos more frequently again. I have been hoping to make some videos the last few weeks, but I must admit I've had a few issues. First issue I've faced is since the removal of the editing software for YouTube, which really annoys the hell out of me. I really quite like that for simple editing. I've been having trouble finding a decent replacement. I've gone for a few free editors so far. I had one that I put a lot of hope in, really quite enjoyed, but then it turned out I couldn't save videos in particular formats, which made them absolutely useless for YouTube. I've gone through another two which were just so user unfriendly. They were migraine inducing. It was just frustration incarnate to use. It was just not worth my time. It would take hours to do the simplest thing, and it just weren't suitable for what I want to do. I have been using Windows Movie Maker now and again, but to be honest, it's pretty garbage. It's unless you've got like two videos which you just need to go paste, put them together. It's not really suitable for fine-tuned trimming and getting rid of things like sound spikes and stuff like that. So that's one thing I've got to look for. The next thing was suitability of games. Now, I don't tend to do mainstream games. I'm not going to do things like New Vegas and Fallout, Skyrim, all that lot, because they've been done to death by bigger YouTubers. They don't need to be redone. Also, there's a massive time sink, and without proper editing software, making a decent video is a bit awkward of such a big thing. So I've been looking at my Steam list, and I'm going, I've got nothing to record, he says, with his 400 plus games, which he's still, So I ended up going out and getting a few RPG Maker games. I'd like to do more on that series. Those often are quite popular, people like them. And then I've had problems with OBS, so that's always been a pain in the ass, because RPG Maker doesn't always play nice with open broadcasting software. It doesn't like recording them in full screen, and certain scripts that try to make the game full screen by default sometimes cause OBS not to record them properly. Even when you've minimized them into a window, it just keeps causing errors. So there was a very good RPG Maker game, one of the better ones I've played on Steam. I mean, this was actually a decent RPG. There'd been a lot of customized art put into it. The battle system had been done in a way that was different and not just one of these oh, I've spent an hour making something, throw it out for 50p games, which unfortunately fill up and litter the Steam store. So I was really hoping to film that, and I just couldn't get past the first half an hour of it. It just kept freezing, which was frustrating. It was perfectly fine in the preview videos, but when I went back to actually watch the videos themselves, they just were not. The sound was fine, but the visuals were just broken. So I decided to try and do something a bit more fun. I went and looked at some of the Sakura games that have come out, because they're always good for a laugh, because they're either bloody awful and you get the handful of good ones. So I went on, checked the Steam discussions, make sure there wasn't any game-breaking bugs, the game actually was completed, so I wasn't having another issue with like eating alive, and then checked the screenshots. Sorry, I'm umming and ahhing quite a lot today. Yeah, but I checked the screenshots to make sure there wasn't anything that looked about too adult, because I can't put that sort of thing on YouTube, and I don't have any editing software at the moment, so I can't censor it. So I pick up a few RPG Maker games and go, these are probably going to be terrible, but with the English being already terrible in the menus, but I'll stick it through and have a giggle. 5 minutes in, there's a bloody blowjob scene. And I'm like, there was nothing forewarning of this at all. Not in the Steam store description, nothing on the screenshots. So I was like, well, I can't record that one. Could do the next one. Same sort of thing happens. So it's like, I can't record these. I can't record these as a series. So at the moment, I'm sort of in between games and trying to figure out what to go for next. So if anyone has any recommendations or anything they'd like to see, please let me know. I'll look into it. At the moment, I'm actually having a love-hate relationship with Slay the Spire. I did want to record that, but I thought I'd unlock a few of the bonus cards and relics within the game first, because it's a card-based game, and a lot of the builds are just unavailable when you start the game. So I need to just do the unlocks for those before it becomes even interesting to watch, because otherwise it's just stuck with the same few cards and the same few builds, if you're lucky, because of the RNG in the game, which is one of the more frustrating elements of it. But I'll go into that in more detail when I finally get around to doing my Slay the Spire videos. Thank you for listening. I hope to see more of you in the future, and it's good to be back